You're listening to The Main Loop, a bi-monthly podcast all about what makes games interesting, engaging, and most importantly, fun to play. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of The Main Loop. I am Sean Bragg, and I'm joined as always by Stu Urbach.
Howdy.
This is called Urbach. I usually say Urbach, but today you're more Urbach.
I'm feeling more German today. It's true.
I could tell. You've got a little short haircut, and you're just feeling more Germanic.
Yep. Getting close to my roots.
That's great. Well, we just interrupted a nice long Hearthstone conversation we were having before the show started.
I thought we were recording.
I feel kind of bad. I was like, well, we don't need to record yet because there's stuff going on in my house, and we'll probably talk about Hearthstone a lot. And I don't know if people like it when we just talk about Hearthstone all the time. And then we had this great discussion about the new expansion and quests and stuff, and
I think
no
you
one will ever hear.
realized it right when you were like, oh, he sounds a little more pretentious than usual, so he probably thinks he's being recorded right now, doesn't he?
He's slightly more hoity-toity at the moment. So, well, we are back again for another round of this show, which is great after our extended absence before the last episode.
Happy we're doing this thing.
Happy to be back. Happy to report that nobody in my family is currently at death's door anymore. So that's a good situation to be in.
It's fun. It's good times.
Yeah. Stu, we should probably get this right out of the way because you were pretty excited about this all week. Yooka-Laylee is out.
Finally dropped, and I can't play it.
Oh.
Because I'm on a 6-year-old MacBook Pro. Apparently those aren't great for video games.
Oh, who knew?
It works well with my WordPress site, though, that I never update. So,
That's a great situation to be in. So Yooka-Laylee's out, but you don't have a great way to play it, and that's a huge bummer.
Yeah, I was a little ticked at how they handled the release process. So they notified us last Monday that they're like, well, we're starting to send stuff out, and people should be getting their keys soon, and some of the backers might get the game if they got the physical copy before the release, and you can start playing that. And we're great.
Sure.
And they're and then you'll be able to preload the game. Great. Get the key on Friday. I'm super pumped. I'm great, I can go play this. I'm I didn't expect that much. I got it cheaper because I'm a Kickstarter backer. That's the whole process. I was hoping to get it a little bit in advance. And then it was kind of oh, I get to preload it Monday and then play it Tuesday. And then by the time that was all done, I couldn't play it. So I was just a little bummed.
So you went from feeling special like a VIP, and then you realize, oh, well, VIPs only get in 2 minutes before everybody else, and then you got in and you didn't even have your ID or anything. You're no drinks for you, no fun for you.
Yeah, I wasn't really, I didn't need to feel like a very important person, a somewhat important person,
an SIP. Yeah,
I would have been fine with that.
The SIP treatment, a slightly important person.
Yeah, that would have been fine. There would have been nothing wrong.
An average importance person. You're an AIP, but instead you got the
of some importance.
Yeah, instead you got the shit importance person.
And your computer sucks, by the way, in case you hadn't realized that.
All the suspicions you had are not so good. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm looking forward to. I'm really torn about whether or not I'm just going to buy it on Steam and play it on PC for a while before it comes out on Nintendo Switch. Or if I'm just going to wait and buy it on Nintendo Switch. I'm not sure yet. It's kind of a tough decision.
Yeah, that's definitely something I would think about. I would lean towards the Switch, I think, just because I feel like you're going to have more fun with the controls and stuff. But
yeah.
But I wouldn't fault you if you didn't want to wait.
Well, I want to follow up on, speaking of controls, because I've been playing a little bit more of Snake Pass on my Nintendo Switch. And that's a game that I'd mentioned the controls were a little tricky. And after playing it longer, I can say the controls are still very tricky. I'm having more fun. It's more enjoyable now that I'm starting to kind of enjoy and understand how to move the little snake around and what's going to happen. You can do a thing where you like grip really tightly and you move like extremely slow, but that way you can slither your way up like poles and things like that. It's just it's a really fun game. It's really well done, but it's just the controlling a snake is a really weird experience and somewhat unintuitive experience. I'll admit. And my only complaint about that game, it's the music's great, it looks great, but every level has a bunch of water droplets you can collect, and then you need to get these 3 gems, and there's also gold coins. Now, the gems are the only thing required to beat the level. So it plays more like a mobile game, kind of, where it's like you just go through the levels, you beat them, and then if you want to, you can also go back and try to get all the coins and all the droplets. But that means that I'm just going to, like, it's really hard to get all the coins and droplets, so I'm just going straight through getting the gems and moving through all the levels. And so I'm torn in this weird place of, like, am I getting, like, the best possible experience out of this game? Because it's giving me the option, right, of you can go through the levels very quickly, or they can be really hard and you need to get all this stuff. And I can't tell if I wish it was all required or if they just didn't have the collectible stuff, because it feels like, well, I went through the level, but I I didn't get all the stuff.
Right. Yeah.
It's like having the 3 stars in Angry Birds in every game after Angry Birds. It's like, well, you beat the level, but did you get 3 stars on the level? And do you need to go back and get 3 stars on all of them now?
And I know Nintendo's pretty big into that in general. Like they did that with like Super Mario World, 3D World and stuff.
Like they kind of give you can beat the level pretty easily, but then if you want the more challenging experience, you're trying to get this optional stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes I wish they would just up the level difficulty a bit to begin with. Like, I think it's a little too easy. But other times I do appreciate it. Like, I felt like it gave me a lot of replayability in something like Super Mario 3D World. I really enjoyed that, actually going back and getting all the green stars. But I can see where that would get weird, for sure.
Okay, interesting. Well, yeah, that's my Switch update. I'm just waiting for Super Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah, that's going to be incredible.
Waiting for that. Still playing through Breath of the Wild, going very slow Breath of the Wild. But that's the Switch Watch update for everybody. That's the Swatch, the weekend Swatch. Stu, I want to get into this because we have several. It seems like today we're going to talk a lot about mobile games.
Yep.
So before we get too far into mobile games, I just want you to go ahead and let loose your dragon fury about mobile game tutorials and so on.
Yeah, so like
that doesn't sound very dragon fury. I just want to say, which I'm glad.
This is just going to build into a crescendo of.
I just like that I built it up. Like, go ahead, you've got this rant going, and you're like, yeah, so. Here's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, wow.
So Hearthstone released its new expansion. Magic is coming out with one of their new ones in a couple weeks. It's a pretty exciting time to be a card gamer. So I was like, let me look at like all the different card games. Oh, you know what? One of the ones I like semi enjoyed was Plants vs. Zombies Heroes. That was kind of cool. Like it had some cool mechanics. It had a decent engine. Great. I'm gonna try that. So then I go do that. And I log in and I see this screen, which is like, one of those screens that you see when you log into mobile games, which is like, here are 10 different currency types.
Right.
And 3 different ways to exchange them. And if you click in the right order, you might get some things that do things that exchange to other things. And I'm just like, so there was this game that I like kind of enjoyed playing. And apparently that's not what you want me to do. You just like want me to spend the money. I see.
Right. They want you to spend all your money. They want you to know that, hey, the crystals, the power crystals are on sale. You can get 10,000 of them for $99 right now. And then you can use those power crystals to buy space bucks. And then those space bucks can be used to actually buy things in the game.
And you know what the worst part is? You know what really pisses me off, especially with digital card games, is it's like, you know what? I am a Magic player. I'm a Hearthstone player. I've bought into the like pay to win like
Right.
thing that the trading card game have. If you give me packs to buy, I'll probably buy. I might not always spend money on it, but occasionally I will. I'm fine with that. But you're not doing that. You're just like doing this thing where I can do these things to pretend I'm not spending money and then spend
Right.
money and then like do some other things. And it's just like, I don't, and I literally, I saw the screen and I closed the game. I was like, I don't want to deal with this. I wanted to play a game.
Right. The
Sorry,
game
bye.
should not be figuring out how the currency works. The game should be the game.
Yeah, and it's just like, ugh, and I'm just so tired of it. You know, I'm just like, I don't care.
Well, then it's
And
probably
it's the
great
same way
timing. It's probably great timing that one of your favorite games, Heroes of the Storm, is converting from a in-game gold / real money to in-game gold / crafting crystals / power gems that cost real money that can be exchanged for things in the game.
Man. It makes me die inside a little bit. I'm like, I don't want to think about this. You know, like I'm at the point where I really don't want any more heroes. So like whatever, if I never got a new hero, I'd probably continue playing. So that's great. And I realized that like on the whole, from the math I've seen, like it's better because all heroes are getting cheaper to get in game. And like I'm mostly willing to give Blizzard the benefit of the doubt because they're Blizzard. But it still makes me a little angry.
Yeah, it's just like the freaking Microsoft points way back when on Xbox because, this game costs 800 points, but points are only sold in denominations of 600.
Right.
And then so you're always gonna have it's like Father of the Bride, right? I want what is he? He's got I want 8 hot dogs. But the buns only come in packages of 6. So I'm removing the extra buns from these packages that I can get. That's how it feels. There's always this extra little bit that's left over that you can't use. And yeah. And yeah, I'm with you. I'm fine like with some of the stuff like in Hearthstone. Yeah, I'll buy a few packs every now and again. I'll buy a handful when the expansion comes out. I can get in-game gold from other things, but I just don't like I have to buy the star shards or whatever that are good for other things, especially because there's no I feel like there should be some kind of enforcement of like, great, then things purchased with that have to somehow be persistent. But like,
right.
Instead it's like, well, what if I like
the shards
ever uninstalled this game and reinstalled it or something? It's like, well, then guess what? You start over. You can buy you can buy the shards again. You're sharding over.
Yep.
So when you had started describing,
I know it's a tick of.
When you had started describing this rant to me, you had said mobile tutorials, and that's where I thought you were going with this. You actually went with like mobile currency, which is great. It's another thing that I hate.
I mean, the thing that made me think about it is every time I install a new game and the first thing they do is teach me how to buy things because it's like central to the game.
Right.
And I'm just like, and they do the little arrow thing where they're like, and now you click this button that will transfer the currency into this button.
Right.
And then you like click it. And like, I swear, I feel like there was a point where everyone's like, and this is the most innovative tutorial style ever. It's like, no, actually, this is just telling people to do things.
I absolutely hate that, especially because it's always some game that involves like you're building your city base or whatever, or you're building, your outpost. That starts off seeming fun, but then it's 25 minutes of touch this. Now put this unit here. Now touch this thing to use your rush gems to make that build faster. Oh, you're out of those. Go to the Shart store. Tap here. And I get to the end, I'm like, I have no idea how the hell to play this game because it's just been telling me to tap on random shit for the last hour, and I don't know what any of it does. It's just like, press here. Okay, I did that.
And the same thing actually happened with like Plants vs. Zombies 2, where I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like Plants vs. Zombies. I love that game, but now they're just going to update it indefinitely. Awesome. And then I go to the tutorial. I'm like, I know how to play this game.
Right.
Oh, you're not gonna let me get out of this, are you?
Nope.
And then they like take you through the backstory, and it's like Crazy Dave, and I'm like, you know what? I don't really care about Crazy Dave.
Yeah, Crazy Dave can F off right now. I just want to play this game, Crazy Dave.
25 minutes later, you're like, well, I've clicked 5 times.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about Crazy Dave's life story and how to buy things from him. Neither of which I really care that much about, but, that's fine.
Yeah, see, every video game that has a tutorial, the tutorial needs to start with, have you ever played a video game before? Yes. And then it just skips the tutorial because it's always like, press the jump button to jump, and then you jump and your character freezes in midair. Now press forward to move forward. Really? Nobody, we've been playing home video games since 1972, but I never would have figured out that you move forward and jump in order to achieve goals. Thank you so much for this tutorial system. How many space crystals do I need to give you to get you to just shut up and get out of my face right now?
That's 30 shards. Oh, okay, great.
Actually, that would probably in-app purchase every time. That's where they should be making their money. Is you want to skip the tutorial? You just need to buy the 1,000 crystal pack.
Yeah,
I will. Okay, I'll do it. No, I'm still uninstalling the game probably at that point. I've rage uninstalled so many games at the tutorial screen. Just like, nope, you know what? I'm actually never going to play this. Thank you.
I think the funniest part about Plants vs. Zombies 2 is like Plants vs. Zombies, the original game, had one of the best tutorials I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was just like the single lane, you had some sun, you had a plant, and you had a zombie. And it was like, figure it out. And I was like, great, I'm going to do this thing here. Oh, look, that worked.
Yeah. It was such a good example of like teaching you how to play by letting you play. Even I remember talking to a friend of mine a long time ago. The opening screen of Mega Man X on Super Nintendo is one of the best examples of a tutorial because the selector for like start, new game or continue or options is a little Mega Man. So you move him up and down. So right away it's taught you you're going to be moving Mega Man up and down. And then you press the fire button to actually select the option you want, and he shoots a little fireball at the option, and that starts the game. So the game has already told you, well, there's the fire button. And it's just like this great introduction. And then the first level starts and you run right and shoot stuff. And then there's a part where the floor breaks away and you slide down the wall and you're like, oh, I can slide down walls in this game. Like the game just showed me, sliding down walls is a thing now. It wasn't like the game froze every 10 seconds. Now press the fire button. It's great. That's great.
Thanks, Mega Man. Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Okay, well, while we're on the topic of mobile games, I want to talk about something that I've been playing all week, and I'm really, really enjoying. It's called Slayaway Camp. So Slayaway Camp is on your phone. It's got your Crossy Road, Tracky Block Man graphics, square people, pixel graphics. They're like pixelated Fisher-Price people. But it's one of these puzzlers where you have to slide across the room. You can slide in 8 directions, and you have to figure out the actual right sequence of way to move so that you end up in the areas in the room that you want to be. Make sense?
I feel you.
So you are a slasher serial killer from like an 80s horror movie, Slayaway Camp. And so you are trying to slide around and kill all the campers. And sometimes there's a couple different ways to do it. Like sometimes you can get right up next to them without actually killing them, and it scares them and they'll run off. So sometimes you can try to figure out the right sequence of moves so they'll like run into a fire or run into the water and drown. Or they might run and bump a bookshelf and knock it over onto another one of the campers. And it includes like a lot of really like overly done, very pixelated gore, which is pretty fun and entertaining. And at the end of each series of levels, there's like 13 chapters to a movie. And then you can go get the next movie. So after Slayaway Camp, you go get Return to Slayaway Camp, and then you do all the levels in that.
That is wonderful.
Yeah. And now I'm in the third one, which is another Return to Slayaway Camp, where you're now the killer's mother. So you're this like old lady running around killing everybody. It's so much fun. The game is a lot of fun. The puzzle aspects are like, the puzzle aspects are great. I really like you have to figure out the right order of moves. Some of the levels, you only have a set number of moves. Like you'll only have Sorry, I had a death cough there. Some of the levels, it's like you only get 6 moves to complete the level. And that includes killing everybody and then getting to the little exit point. So you have to figure that out. Some of the levels have cops that you can, if you stop right in front of them, you lose. You got to start the level over. But you can pass through their field of vision, and you can try to kill them. So you've got to try to kill all the little people. Again, sometimes you need to figure out an indirect way to do it, because you might not, like when you get up next to somebody, you kill them and you're stopped there. And so then you can move on from that position, right? So you need to be able to time out your move so that you actually stop against something. Because when you start moving in a direction, you just move that direction until you stop.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's like those like frozen levels from Pokemon, but with killing people.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what it's like. Yeah, once you're moving a direction, amazing. You're stuck. And so some of the levels, it's like, well, you don't want to go in the fire, so you've got to figure out how to avoid that, or how to get somebody else to run into the fire and get a little pixely death scene. It's great. And the game, actually, I found that it will trick you. Like, there will be a level where you can kill all the campers by like scaring them and getting them to run into the fires, but then that leaves you with no way to get to the exit point. So it's actually like the level starts and you think, aha, I've got this one. I'm going to get them all to run into the fire. And then you can't. You actually have to you have to start over and try a different approach. So it does a really good job of like kind of teaching you things you can do to complete the puzzles, but then still sometimes it's like, no, you need to actually like stop, try to plan out your moves, because like your assumptions may be invalid for this set of puzzles. And it's in this 80s slasher movie sort of. If Crossy Road was an 80s slasher movie, it would be Slay Away Camp. So it's a lot of fun. And of course, you can unlock things. You can unlock new little costumes and new little killers to play as, which is, it's morbid, but it's great. And it has actually made me want to go watch like old, Freddy Krueger movies and like lame 80s slashers as well. So that's an added bonus to the game. So yeah,
halcyon days.
Heck yes, those bygone innocent times when movies were nothing but gratuitous nudity and explicit gore. None of these adult themes. So yes, Slay Away Camp, I highly recommend. It's definitely been a lot of fun. Yeah, I like the slidey puzzles. There's another one, Bears versus Art. I don't know if you've ever played Bear versus Art. It's another slidey puzzle game where you're a bear in an art museum, and you have to slide him into all the art to destroy it because he hates art.
For a second, I thought you were going to talk to me about an episode of Bear Grylls where instead of dropping him in the wilderness, they were dropping him in an art museum. They drop him
in an art museum and he has to destroy it all. No, you're a little grizzly bear and you have to destroy all the art because he hates it. And that's another one of those sliding puzzles that's, they're great. Really, really fun. So I would go for Slay Away Camp.
This looks wonderful. I am so sold, you don't even know.
It's great. Okay, well, let's talk about, we mentioned Hearthstone a little bit. But actually, you and I have now both spent a little bit of time playing Elder Scrolls Legends. And this is now just another company jumping on the digital card game train. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of these licensed ones, frankly. Like, I'm surprised that we don't have like the name a franchise equivalent of Hearthstone yet. I know there's Gwent, which is like, it's a game in The Witcher 3 or in the Witcher games. It's one of those you can sit down and play Gwent in the game, and now it's its own standalone game. And I've heard it's great. I mean, it's a really cool game in The Witcher. It's always hard for me to justify spending time in a game playing a different game. So
sounds perfect. Why wouldn't?
In this game, you can go to an arcade and play other games. Wow, that sounds.
Mid Overwatch, Tracer's just playing Duck Hunter.
Tracer, get off that. Get off Big Buck Hunter Grand Tour. But yeah, so we've given Elder Scrolls Legends a shot. So this is may come as a shock to some people, but it's actually based on the Elder Scrolls series of digital computer video games. And
I'm stunned. I'm floored. No clue.
Very left field. Left field. So yeah, Elder Scrolls Legends. It seems like a fine game. I enjoyed it. Again, the tutorial was good because it was mostly playing the game. Yeah, I definitely want your thoughts because you're a much more like design focused person. But there are a couple of mechanics that I really, really like in the game, like different card like types and things that happen that weren't just like what's in Hearthstone.
Yeah, I mean, out of all of the games I've played, it's pretty much like, okay, Hearthstone got this right, and we're all just kind of living in that world, and that's fine. You know, that's where you got to start. Hearthstone did the same thing with Magic. They're like, oh, Magic actually got most of this right. You know, what's kind of interesting is like everyone's like, oh, the mana system in Magic sucks because you're drawing these cards, which is true. But then everyone's like, great, so we're just going to use this digital thing so everyone gets a mana a turn, period. So like it's all still there, right? I think what was coolest about Elder Scrolls is they like kept the same core of the design, right? It's mostly Hearthstone. You're like mostly doing Hearthstone-y things. But then you're like, they tweaked it in a couple of big ways that I thought do some interesting things. I don't know how well they play out in competitive games, but they were fun in the tutorials I played. Yeah. So I really thought the idea of lanes was cool. It's just 2 lanes, so you put your creatures in different lanes, and then they can only attack other creatures in that lane or the opponent. Yeah, I thought that made a lot of sense. It felt kind of like, oh, I can kind of like protect one of my more valuable creatures here by playing it here, right, opposite of another big creature. So you can't just like choose. You have to be like, oh, I have to decide what I'm trying to defend. Yeah, I like that too. I like that extra decision point of it's not just which creature do I play and do I attack face or do I try to trade, but also, am I okay leaving? Maybe he's got, a couple dudes in that lane and I don't have any dudes in that lane, but maybe I'm okay with that because I'm kind of, dominating this other lane. And am I okay just investing in that and taking damage from there? Or do I need to actually shift it up and start like getting some bodies in that lane? Yeah, and it kind of like gets over that whole thing where like sometimes in Hearthstone when they just have a huge 8/8 dude and you're like, well, I could play this 1/1. And it's going to die, and there's not really anything I can do here, and it's useless. And it's like, oh, those small creatures that you have late game actually might have some value, because if you're playing in one lane, you can put them in the other, and then, the opponent has to do something about them. They can't just like, they're dead for free.
I also like that the lanes are like and I don't know how they handle this in competitive, because I haven't played any competitive yet. I've only been playing the single player stuff, but different missions in the campaign, different lanes do different things sometimes. So you might play a game and the right lane is the shadow lane. So minions you play there, it's equivalent of stealth. You can't do anything to them for one turn. And then the other lane might be normal, or there's one that's like the storm lane. And I like that idea too of the board itself. In Hearthstone you have this great game board art, but I like the idea of taking that further. And it's like, well, playing on a different game board means there's these sort of environmental factors that you have to take into account.
And I think having lanes kind of helps that, because it means you don't have to overwhelm the player with like, oh, the board is changing and stuff. It's just like, well, there's this one half of the board that's doing this thing that you can kind of take part in, but the other half is actually fine, and you're just playing the game, Yeah. And I think that's nice.
I agree.
I think the other thing that's kind of cool, and I don't know how well it plays in competitive, but I think single player it was great, was the every 5 damage you get a card.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. Yeah, every 5 damage you take directly, you draw a card. And then what was cool is then you can have cards in your deck that are they have a prophecy effect as this prophecy keyword. And that means that if you draw that card as one of the cards you get for taking damage, so you take, every time you take 5 damage face, you draw a card. If you draw a prophecy card, you can actually do whatever its prophecy effect is right away. So it might be like if prophecy, summon this minion immediately, or deal damage to something. And that was a really neat effect of you've taken damage, but now you actually get a chance to respond.
I thought that was actually really great, and I think it tightens the game up a bit. It makes it harder to have a runaway victory, but it also doesn't like prevent burst damage, because if you just deal a person 15 damage in a turn, they might draw a bunch of cards, but they're probably dead anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think it kind of manages that really well. It makes games a little less grindy, where you're just like, oh, the other person's going to grind me down over 10 turns and I'm dead, but we're here and I have to kind of play it out because I'm not totally sure, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's because that's one of the complaints about Hearthstone, is that there's no... the turns are completely one-sided. You cannot do anything on your opponent's turn. The best you get is that you might have a minion that has a death rattle that can trigger on your opponent's turn. But those are designed to be that you, like, you know, Sylvanas Windrunner, death rattle, it takes control. You know, you get one of your enemy's minions. You don't get to pick one. It's not targetable. There's no concept of like a stack in Hearthstone. I mean, there is, as far as like, you know, death rattles, they trigger in the order that they were summoned, but it's not really, you can't say, well, I play this big guy and he hits your face immediately, and I can't then say, well, I'm going to use some of my mana from next turn and I like cast this spell that, you know, freezes him this turn or something like that. There's none of that in Hearthstone, and there's not really that in Elder Scrolls Legends, but this prophecy thing was a really nice kind of like in between. Like, I get to do a little something on my turn if I'm taking damage.
Yeah, and that actually kind of leads me into the other card game I was playing. So it's made by the same company, actually, Direwolf Digital. They're based in Denver. They made their own digital trading card game. It's called Eternal, the card game, or Eternal card game. And it's basically like if someone had made Magic after Hearthstone had come out. So it has most of the same concepts, like you only attack a player and the other player gets to defend. There's a stack that you can respond to an instance. You draw mana from your deck that you play, and it, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I gotta say, having played it really made me appreciate Hearthstone's sort of ability to collapse what happened into one turn, so that you don't have to constantly think about what's happening on your opponent's turn. And I think there's some ways they could break out of that, but like in this game, you just click a lot. You're just like, oh, my opponent did something, I gotta click confirm. Oh, they did this other thing, I gotta click confirm. Oh, it's the end of their turn, I gotta click confirm that there's nothing to do. And it really made me realize that, like, I appreciate Magic because of just how strategically complex and deep it is. That it's like, yeah, if I want to do something that's going to burn my brain, I'm going to go play Magic because there's tons of stuff. Yeah. And if I want something that's quick and fun and I can play competitively, I'm going to go play Hearthstone because it abstracts a lot of the stuff and I can just kind of like play. And this other game, it's like, it's kind of fun, but I think it misses out on a lot of what like Magic's charm is, while also missing out on a lot of what Hearthstone's efficiency is. And it really made me actually appreciate all three of the other games we've been talking about, Hearthstone, Magic, and Elder Scrolls Legends, because they all kind of took this concept and like stayed true to it, but then like built their own small changes that like kind of diversified your experience without being like super onerous or like over the top. Yeah.
I do want to try out Eternal. I mean, there's so many of these things now. There's Duelist, there's Faria. Maybe that's it. Maybe there's not actually that many, but and I haven't tried Duelist. I haven't played Faria. I actually enjoyed Elder Scrolls Legends more than I expected. And I do think they have some really cool mechanics. There's like a card upgrade mechanic that's really interesting.
Yeah, so as you I'm curious to see what that does, how that works.
Like term. as you level up kind of your account, you actually get the choice to modify cards in your collection. You get kind of a choose one. You can, like this minion you've got in your collection. Well, you can actually, this card's going to get upgraded like to a rare now, and you can either choose it's going to have more attack, or it's going to have block or something like that. Or what is that what they call it it's taunt or it's guard? I think it's block.
Guard.
Is it guard?
Guard is what it's called, maybe.
Yeah, because Magic has a similar thing, right? Like Defender. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, that was an interesting thing. But then also made me wonder: is this game feasible for like competitive play? If like each player can have a deck containing the same card, quote unquote, but it can actually be a different card, and maybe that's fine. Maybe it's just like, yeah, that dude has the other version of this card, or as you get out of the single player stuff, how do they normalize the deck, the collections and things like that? Is a question that I had.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting. I would be more excited to play it in like more casual ways, like as an RPG, because I think having the cards level up and letting me play them and build decks to like overtake heroes, like I actually think that's a really fun experience that I would probably pay for. I don't know, like you, it's like, yeah, so what happens if you level up a card one direction, but then like all the net deckers realize actually this other like path was significantly stronger? Like, are they going to errata the card? Are they going to like, can you like swap out the path you took? Or are you just like, well, I leveled this up and it's here and now I'm kind of screwed?
Yeah. And that's, one thing that Hearthstone has going for it is that, well, one, there's no things like that, but there is still a crafting system. There is this option of, oh man, I don't have this card. And some of these cards that I got in packs that I was excited about, they turned out to not be powerful at all, and I wish I had these other cards. It's like, well, you can scrap some of them, or you've got some golden cards and you don't care about. Like, you can scrap them, and you can actually get the cards you want without just being like, well, I'm just going to buy packs at random and hope I get that thing.
Yeah, it's also like, I know card games are like, some cards are just straight up more powerful than others, but it'd be a little weird to be playing with someone who has the evolved version of your card and you have the like weaker version of it.
Right.
It's like, okay, your card is literally just better than mine. I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, that's awkward. So that's the only big question mark I have about Elder Scrolls Legends. I liked it. I don't know how much time I would spend playing it. But we'll see. I mean, it could. The only thing, and I love Skyrim. Like, it's one of my favorite games I've ever played. I have a shameful number of hours, like most people who played Skyrim. Shameful number of hours logged in that game. But Elder Scrolls Legends made me realize just how generic the art style for Elder Scrolls is, because every card is just like, oh, it's medieval warrior guy, or it's creature. Like, it was just nothing. And it is hard comparing a game like Blizzard, where it's like, well, they're drawing from Warcraft, this extensive, lore that has a very defined art style. It's very like distinct. And Elder Scrolls has always just been medieval adventures. Like, it's been more of a generic thing. But man, I'm looking at some of the art in that game. I'm like, oh, I played this guy with sword, and he's going to go against your man with axe. Look out. Oh, no.
Oh, there's a pirate. It's a pirate that does piratey things.
Yeah, so, the art's a little generic, and I feel like they've got to make some updates to that if they want it to have legs, just because like, Hearthstone is so fun and bright and vibrant to play. Magic, the art is so well done. So kind of advanced, and so Elder Scrolls just feels like this game's not super fun to look at, which makes it not as fun to play.
Yeah, it's more just like, this is fun if you like gave me a compelling campaign that I could pay a few bucks to like play every, a few times a year. I'd do that, but unless something different, I can't really see it like really overtaking other things that I'm playing.
Yeah. Well, cool. I think that's a pretty good place to wrap this up for this week.
Yeah, I think we had a pretty good discussion.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to go buy Slay Away Camp, because it's great.
Probably going to do that right after we're done recording.
I'm very excited to get your thoughts on it. Love little puzzle games like that. And yeah, give Elder Scrolls Legends a try. Check out Eternal.
For iPad and PC, right?
Yes, it is on iPad, PC. It's not on phones yet. And check out Eternal, the card game, or Eternal card game of Eternal cards.
And I would really highly recommend anyone who's interested checking out Duelist. I know there's one that just got kickstarted. It's called Shardbound. It's supposed to be more like Twitch stream oriented, and then there's also Faria that I think Crip plays. But I've played Duelist a little bit. I know they're like working on the beta of an iOS version. Seems pretty exciting.
Yeah. There is one that started on iOS that I can't remember the name of that I actually played for a while. It was another card game. I actually really liked it because it was like cards in your hand were your mana. You had to spend cards out of your hand to build up your mana pool each turn. And
just
then you
as
could
long
play
as
that.
it's not Plants vs. Zombies Heroes.
It's not. Shadowverse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I liked that mechanic of you got to spend stuff to get stuff. And so it felt like there was a lot more choice involved of, man, do I really want to drop this big guy and have no hand, or do I want to keep trying to just like trade one for now? So yeah, Shadowverse is another cool one. I would love to hear you out there in Radioland, your thoughts on these. You can find us on Twitter at The Main Loop, and you can email us, mainloopshow@gmail.com. Would love to hear your feedback and thoughts. You can also always find me at Sean M. Bragg on Twitter. That's SeanMBrage. And you can follow Stu's gaming adventures at amateur, right?
Amateur
at amateur.
mythology.wordpress.com.
Cool.
Or on Instagram at Decode Games.
Decode Games on Insta. Cool. You doing some stories?
Not quite hitting the story game yet. Just trying to like do some stuff where I like break down visuals of board games and video games and like what I think's cool about them.
Okay. I can see that. I like that. I like where your head's at.
The things.
I could see marinating a chicken in that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We will be back in 2 weeks with another show. And what's that date, actually? Is that going to be post Mario Kart? Because that would be...
Oh, man.
No, it's going to be 2 days before. I'm going to be dying.
And I think there's like a Nintendo announcement that's coming up soon about Splatoon and ARMS, where I know they'll at least be like demoing it or something.
Yes, that's exciting. So
we'll probably have that to talk about, and maybe like a release date there or something.
Sweet.
Cool.
It's exciting. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and we will see you all in 2 weeks.
See ya.